Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
It's being called a once-in-a-500-year flooding event, and it isn't over in mid-Michigan.
Could it get worse? Yes. If the entire structure were to go and the water were to come in a very significant, serious, immediate impact, there would be a much higher surge that would come down the river, and that could raise the level much more quickly than what we're seeing right at the moment. So it is a danger, yes.
One critically important dam has already failed. An entire lake has simply disappeared, and the water is still rising. As the evacuations were rolling late last night, it was really hard to get a full grasp of exactly what was happening.
You're right, Devin, and it wasn't until daylight brought us our first look at the destruction in and around Midland. These are the two areas we're talking about: the Edenville Dam, which failed last night, and the Sanford Dam north of Midland, which has been breached.
We want to get to Jason Colthorpe, who's leading our team coverage tonight from mid-Michigan. Jason, I know you've seen things today that were just extraordinary.
You almost can't overstate it, Devin. Here in Midland, it's a bad situation that's going to get worse. High water has overpowered two dams, the Edenville and the Sanford, and now that water is headed downriver, some of what you see behind me here. The small towns of Edenville and Sanford are now lakes, completely underwater. The water has started to flood Midland, the biggest city in the area where we are now. The Tittabawassee River is expected to crest around 8, maybe 9 o'clock tonight at 38 feet. That's still 3 more feet to go. With mass power outages and parts of the sewer system failing, 500 people have taken shelter at local schools at this point. It's all really jaw-dropping. The area captured with the live pictures from Drone 4, this used to be a lake. When the dams failed, all of the water drained, leaving just this behind. Hard to imagine. And now take a look at live pictures from a neighborhood in Midland. Houses underwater. We'll have a live report from there in just a few minutes. And now here's what it looks like from above live with Drone 4 again. The city of 40,000 submerged. Governor Whitmer toured this area today and says everyone needs to take these warnings seriously.
If you're in an impacted area, please evacuate. This is going to be hard, but we are anticipating several feet of water across this area. And so while we're in the midst of a global pandemic, it's really important that to the best of our ability, we observe the best practices to keep ourselves and our families safe.
Yeah, the pictures from across the area tonight show exactly what a 500-year flood looks like. That's what they're calling it. And when the Edenville Dam failed last night around 7, the rushing water mowed down trees, destroyed houses. It pushed semis and buses around like they were toys. And, you know, we have a sizable team here on the ground in this area, and we coordinate with our team back in Detroit all day long in many different ways, including a group text. And a message came in earlier today that really stopped us all in our tracks. It was from Sean Lay, and it was just 4 words: Wixom Lake is gone. He spoke to a homeowner there whose view is now stunningly different.
Well, good afternoon, everyone from Hope, Michigan. Take a look at your television screens. Take a nice long look, because everything you see behind me, all of this right here, that was Wixom Lake. And look, the lake, the entire lake, it is gone. And people who have full-time homes here or summer cottages were here yesterday at this very time, and the water, the rainwater had built up so much, it was about at shoulder height. So there were evacuations here, and once people got to safety, they heard the dam down there failed, and it was like pulling a plug out of a bathtub. The lake went that way.
It's devastating. That's all. Just devastating.
Trish Wilson from Redford simply cannot believe her eyes. Let us show you the view she is looking at. It might take your breath away too. All of this was Wixom Lake.
This was our summer home for the whole family. This is just devastating. Yeah. This is where we've been coming since I was born.
But around 5 yesterday, the Edenville Dam that created the lake gave way. Trinity Marsh was standing at the dam and watched everything unfold.
We just started hearing trees just cracking and just piling into the thing in the river, and we're like, whoa, you know.
All of that water, all of that power headed right for Dan Vincent. He owns a gas station at the M30 bridge. That bridge is destroyed. He had to evacuate twice and spent the night in his truck.
In the church parking lot up on top of the hill.
In a car?
In the pickup.
In your pickup?
Yep.
Slept in the pickup?
Yep.
Our family has owned this since the 40s. Never has this happened.
Just a stunning afternoon we spent there on Wixom Lake. And look, people are already rolling up their sleeves. They're getting in their homes because there was so much water in the homes all around the lake. They're starting to clean out, and then they would just stop, walk outside, look at what's left of what used to be the lake, and just shake their heads. They come over to us and say, you know, we had lakefront property yesterday. Today, we do not. There's a brand new subdivision, beautiful new homes being built. It says lakefront property there. But the lake is gone. It's a man-made lake, but people are questioning what the future holds for Wixom Lake and the other communities suffering so much damage. Here in just a quiet neighborhood in this area of Midland, the water is finding its way everywhere. And the water you see behind me is now coming up through drains and basements and is starting to rise here. So there are problems everywhere you look. Nick Monticelli, he's been here for hours today. You got here in the very early morning hours, Nick, and I know you're near downtown Midland watching the water levels there.
Yeah, not too far from it, Sean. Good evening to you. So the Tittabawassee River is actually right to my right here, and this is one neighborhood that is underwater. If Chester wants to zoom in all the way, you can see some houses that are partially submerged and some homes that are completely submerged. But when we talk about these flooding situations, we normally or mentally picture a situation like this. You don't envision downtown areas that have this kind of destruction. And in fact, we found that exact case in Midland today. In fact, the farmers market there, ready to reopen finally after COVID-19. Now that same market is underwater. The images above Midland paint yet another drastic picture of what these dam problems have created. Homes, businesses, bridges devastated by Mother Nature. One telling sign of how high this water is rising is that green roof. It's Midland's farmers market submerged under roughly 8 to 10 feet of water.
We just did this. We just did this, and I don't know if I don't know how fast we can bounce back this time.
Erin Lyons is the manager at the market. She's talking about the 2017 floods. Add COVID-19 on top of that, and this market should have been opening today.
And we figured that out, and we were a drive-through market, and we should be having a drive-through market right now, right here, today, right now.
This is our livelihood. We lost a lot, but we still have our home where other ones their homes are destroyed.
Mark and Kathleen Hatzner are one of the 80 vendors that would have been here, making money for the first time in months.
2020 has been one blow after another, and for small businesses and mom and pop shops, it's like, you know, we just want to get going.
The long-term damage, both physically and fiscally, can't be known yet, but Lyons does know they will rebuild again.
We can. It just might take a little longer.
So we talk about those physical and fiscal impacts, but Jason, of course, the emotional toll is also a huge issue in here, because once all these waters finally go down, whenever that's going to be, that's when the real work is going to begin. And of course, you're in downtown Midland right now. You're right by that farmers market. You can see how long it's going to take them to get things put back together again.
Exactly, Nick. Like you said, people just now ready to reopen that farmers market, and just it all yanked away as the water came rushing through. And in an event like this, you do get a devastating look at what it seems like from the ground. But to get the grand scope of this, you really have to go through the air, and the damage just goes on for miles. The images are chilling. Sky 4 and Drone 4 overhead in Midland County, where towns have become lakes because the dams could not withstand the rising water. In Edenville, roads are washed away, big chunks simply missing, and water is now rushing through. Sky 4 captured a man dangerously walking over downed trees to join a group gathered near a steep drop-off that was once a bridge. Cars are submerged in water and buildings have been destroyed. This one collapsed right into the water. And the water levels are so high here, you can only see the roof of this building. Docks that used to stand strong over the water are now nothing but debris in the water. Over in Sanford, a village of just 900 people, a very unwelcome sight in front of the area's welcome sign. Massive trucks have been toppled by the rushing water, pushed around like toys, and the only visible part of this school bus is its yellow roof. Businesses are under feet of water, a clear sign this builder will need to rebuild. In Midland, the area's largest city, Drone 4 shows the water rising around the Tridge, the three-way pedestrian bridge, which is a landmark in the city. Water is creeping into Midland's downtown at this point, and it's already hit neighborhoods. And while it appears there is a stadium under there, it's hard to tell at this point. And of course, all of this as the city is bracing for more. And on that note, let's bring in Ben, who has a look at just the rain totals in this area. And as we say, Ben, there's still 3 more feet to go before this river even crests.
Yeah, and that's just the river, Jason. Of course, there's water all over outside of that river as well. But I want to show you where the rainfall actually was maximized. What you see behind me are the rainfall totals since Thursday. Of course, here's Midland County and the Tittabawassee River. But notice where all of the heavy rainfall totals were basically upstream of that. Around Tawas, Au Gres, those numbers were incredible. 8 inches in 48 hours. Tawas almost at 8 inches there. Sterling 7.2. And then all that water came downstream. So this is the latest forecast for the Tittabawassee. And what you're looking at there in the blue, those are observed. That's 35 feet. That's already above record territory. Forecast to crest there at 38 feet tonight and then slowly fall. But you can see it's going to be days, probably early Saturday, before that river actually goes back below flood stage. So, Jason, a lot of headaches yet to come here, but it may be, at least from the river standpoint, the level of the river, maybe we're seeing the worst tonight.
Boy, and just how much devastation 3 more feet of water can do, we're going to find out. All right, Ben, and a lot of people are wondering, how does a dam just suddenly fail? Well, there were some warning signs about the Edenville Dam. Local 4 Defender Karen Drew has been looking into the past inspections and the maintenance on that dam. She's going to have those findings for us coming up at 6. And that's just one part of our coverage ahead in the next 90 minutes of news here. Also ahead at 6, you'll hear the message from a flood victim who lost everything in this, and how the community here is stepping up quickly to help the others who've been greatly affected. You'll also want to head over to clickondetroit.com. That's where we have a photo gallery of the destruction that our team's been putting together that's here on the ground throughout the day here and going all the way back to when these dams failed yesterday. You can find that link right at the top of the homepage at clickondetroit.com. And guys, I'll be back here at 5:30. Number 1, to tell you what you would normally see behind me, and we'll also have an update on one of the hardest hit towns in all of this. But for now, we'll send it back to you guys in Detroit.
Yeah. You got it. All right, Jason. Unreal stuff that we're watching. We'll have more, obviously, as this 90 minutes of news continues. Now, hard to think that all of that is happening in the middle of this global pandemic. Today, the coronavirus took the lives of another 43 Michiganders as 659 new cases of the virus have been confirmed.
Researchers are constantly learning more about the coronavirus and how it impacts the body.
Tonight, 2 new studies shedding light on the risk from a particular complication and a symptom that should signal you to self-isolate. Dr. Frank B. George here with a closer look. Doc?
Yeah, Devin and Kim, the coronavirus doesn't just damage the lungs, it can also impact the heart. New research suggests that patients who show an enlargement of one of the heart's 4 chambers are less likely to recover from COVID-19.
Researchers at Mount Sinai Hospital looked at health records from more than 100 COVID-19 patients hospitalized between March 26th and April 22nd. They found patients who had an enlarged right ventricle of the heart were more likely to die from the disease. The study authors say the reason isn't clear, but it could be caused by the obstruction of blood flow in the lungs due to blood clots or lung tissue damage. Direct damage to the heart tissue by the coronavirus may also be a contributing factor. The researchers say, based on this finding, doctors could use echocardiograms to help identify COVID-19 patients at higher risk. Several studies have now looked at one of the stranger symptoms of COVID-19, the sudden loss of taste or smell. A new summary in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds it has become a common symptom in COVID-19 patients. Several studies report it is often the first symptom patients notice, or even the only symptom. Researchers say people who experience a loss of taste or smell should immediately self-isolate and, when possible, be tested for COVID-19. Now, because this symptom is often reported in people with mild symptoms or no other symptoms, it could play a significant role in helping identify these patients earlier and reduce the odds of them spreading the disease to others.
Now, more research is planned on the significance of this symptom. Most COVID-19 patients regain their sense of taste and smell on their own, but experts say those who don't might benefit from available treatments. Back to you.
Fascinating. All right, Frank. Well, it's called Operation Haircut.
How barbers and hairstylists tried to send a message to the governor that they want to get back to work. Here's Grant.
The president taking aim at Michigan's Secretary of State and the governor on Twitter in two unprecedented tragedies. Coming up, what it means for Michigan voting and critical federal funding.
Ahead of a planned visit to Michigan tomorrow, President Trump is targeting the leaders of the state on Twitter.
Here was the first one he fired off this morning. Important to point out, though, this tweet was later deleted, but it said at the time, quote, breaking, Michigan sends absentee ballots to 7.7 million people ahead of primaries and the general election. This was done illegally and without authorization by a rogue Secretary of State. I will ask to hold up funding to Michigan if they want to go down this voter fraud path, end of quote. Let's bring in Grant Herms. Grant, he also talked about the response to the flooding.
Yeah, Devin, but first things first here, what the president is claiming in that tweet is false. The state is not sending out millions of ballots to people here in Michigan, but that comment did spark some controversy just one day before he's set to visit. Tweeting this morning, the president falsely claiming Michigan had illegally sent out absentee ballots without authorization, calling Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson rogue. In response, Benson saying we sent applications, not ballots, just like my GOP colleagues in Iowa, Georgia, Nebraska, and West Virginia. Michigan did announce this week it'd be sending out applications for vote-by-mail ballots to all registered voters, like Benson said. It's also unclear whose authorization the president believes Benson needed, because state election protocols are handled at the state level. The president also saying he'll be asking to hold up critical federal funding to the state, claiming absentee ballots were a path for voter fraud, looping in the acting director of the Office of Management and Budget, his chief of staff, and the U.S. Treasury on the threat. The claim absentee ballots lead to voter fraud doesn't hold up. Recent studies from other states like Colorado and Utah, which vote almost entirely by mail, show fraud is few and far between.
To see Twitter this morning and to see rhetoric like that is disheartening.
At a press conference from Midland today, Governor Whitmer said she had seen the president's tweets.
I would appreciate any federal partnership that wants to stay focused on solving problems and not get into politics.
And as you said, Devin, this afternoon the president did delete and correct a portion of that earlier tweet today. He added the absentee applications were sent out, not the ballots, but he did leave in that false claim that they were sent out illegally. He also left in that threat to hold up those federal dollars.
And Grant, I mentioned the president also had something to say about the flooding in Midland.
Yeah, the president also tweeted out today that the military and FEMA was on the ground sent out to help. He also said that the governor, quote, must now set you free to help. Well, we asked what the president was saying if that help would be contingent on the governor reopening the state. A White House spokesperson couldn't give us any clarity on what the president meant. There's also no word yet on whether he'll be doing a flyover in Air Force One or visiting any kind of the flooding out there in Midland tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, Grant.
All right, well, the sunshine is absolutely beautiful today, and it is desperately needed up in mid-Michigan as they pray up there that that water will start to come down.
Let's head to Ben's place and see what the outlook is now for the next couple of days. Ben.
Yeah, we've got an extended dry stretch, guys, that's going to take us at least into the weekend. Only just the slightest chance of showers that you're going to see. But when you look at the state of Michigan, it looks like little pieces of green confetti all over the place. And those are all flood warnings that we're watching tonight. The two that are in our area are for minor flooding only. It's the Huron River out in Hamburg Township, which often we see it minor flooding after we get a significant rain. And also the River Raisin that's down in the south zone. Both rivers still rising. rising, but only going to creep up a little bit more and then basically hold steady and slowly fall as we go into the upcoming weekend. Lakeshore flood warnings expire 10 p.m. tonight. That's not because of the rain. That's really because of those east winds. 10 to 15 mile-an-hour winds still coming out of the east, still pushing those high lake levels on shore on the east side. So temperatures a little bit milder the further north you get. 70 in Flint. We're looking at mid-60s across most of the area and low 60s in the south zone where that cloud cover a little bit heavier. And you can see that the rain today, watch the radar, as those showers just hang right around that state line. Some of those may have reached into Lenawee and Monroe County, at least for a time there this afternoon. But the core of the circulation remains well to the south, down there towards Knoxville. And then by Friday, that low is out to the mid-Atlantic, but still feeding in moisture from the ocean, and that's what's giving us that rain chance right there close to us as we get into the weekend. So Friday, just a slight chance of rain. Saturday looks great going into the holiday weekend. Sunday, we've got a wave coming through with scattered showers and thunderstorms. Does not look like it's going to be all day, but that cold front, we've got some questions about that. Once it arrives Memorial Day Monday, how long is it going to stay? And we'll have to watch that very carefully. 50 tonight with decreasing clouds. Temperatures tomorrow very dependent on where the clouds are. So metro zone highs tomorrow, upper 60s close to 70. But again, with those thicker clouds down south, it looks like mid-60s as good as it gets, maybe even right around 60 on the lakeshore. Close to 70 here and maybe above in parts of the west zone. Genesee County, again, one of the warm spots. And north zone locations, you're going to go to 70 in Lapeer County away from the lake tomorrow afternoon. 80 still coming in the forecast, but it's going to be Memorial Day Monday before we see them, guys.
Yeah. All right, Ben, thanks. We have much more ahead at 5. Here's Victor Williams.
We're here in the city of Monroe taking a look at the flooding that's going on here. Hear about the concerns of the people living and working close to the water.
Barbers and hairstylists from across the state traveled to Lansing to protest Governor Whitmer's stay-at-home order.
The group offered free haircuts this afternoon right on the state capitol lawn. Hundreds lined up for their haircuts as a rally carried on. One of the speakers at the event was Owasso barber Carl Mankey, who said he's not going to stop cutting hair. During the rally, Michigan State Police handed out 7 disorderly conduct tickets for $500 each to haircutters. Those tickets will get passed along to the Attorney General's office. The civil disobedience extended beyond the hairdressers to at least one lawmaker.
I'll fight the ticket. It's fine. I mean, we're all here for the same reason today, to show the governor that our rights do not come from her.
I think it sends to the governor that it's time to trust the people of the state of Michigan to act properly and safely, and let's move on. Let's start to open up our economy more than it is.
The Michigan Conservative Coalition put on today's protest and promises another graduation-themed event in June.
New at 5:30.
A lot of folks wondering if coronavirus will force the cancellation of the Ford fireworks. The answer is no. The show will go on.
It's going to be that good. It's going to be one of the biggest Detroit nights.
But there are some big changes that you need to know about. I'll have details coming up.
How do you feel about the job the governor has been doing? Are you ready to go back to work? How about, do you feel safe if you're going out in public tonight? All of those questions have been polled in a new statewide poll. We got the numbers, and some of them are quite interesting.
And of course, we continue to follow the breaking news of historic flooding hitting mid-Michigan. There is a small bit of good news we just got in. We will have that for you when we come right back. Stick around.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
The governor calls it a 500-year flood, and the pictures showing us so much devastation. Mid-Michigan hit by massive flooding, thousands evacuated, and the worst of it could still be yet to come.
Yeah, the pictures really are incredible. Right here off the top at 5:30, we want to get back out to Jason Colthorpe live in Midland.
Of course, Jason, with flooding, the situation can change really minute by minute. What are we seeing right now?
Well, imagine what it was like for people when this broke. I'm in about 5 feet of water, 4 feet of water here, and we really thought this would be much smaller. It's only about 10 feet from shore here. This should be a parking lot. The courthouse is over my right shoulder. It's underwater. There's normally a spray park for kids that is out here past this parking lot. In the distance, That green roof is the farmer's market that Nick Monticelli told you about that was supposed to open today, and so many other things that are just now completely underwater. And the devastation that people felt, it was like right out of a movie, because this water is moving fast right now. But people here say it was much faster earlier today, and last night it was coming for homes and coming for businesses and pushing cars and vehicles around like it was nothing. Now, the big headline off the top here at 5:30 is we've learned from the city of Midland the river has crested now. The Tittabawassee River has crested at 35 feet, so that's 3 feet less than what they were expecting. Very good news there. Dow Chemical is in Midland, and a lot of people have been wondering about that. It has initiated its emergency flood response right now, but beyond that, no major problems reported from Dow. And the governor has reached out to FEMA for federal assistance, and she's also talked to the White House. She's telling us to get immediate funds to help the people who have been devastated by this. And somebody who's talked to a lot of those people is the night camp, Tim Pamplin. He's been out here since yesterday around 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And in Edenville, where it's underwater, he talked to the town manager just about how devastated they are and what it's going to take to recover now.
The pet grooming parlor collapsed. Cars flipped upside down, roofs ripped off homes. Kim came home from work to the unimaginable. She saw her home floating down the river.
I got home at 5:30, 5:45. The dam broke and I lost my house and everything in it.
Along with propane tanks, trees, boats, and cars. All eyes then turned here. Would the Sanford Dam collapse? With all the water and debris piling up against it, experts suspected it was just a matter of time.
My dad actually came down here and tied my Toyota to the tree.
This Sanford resident couldn't believe his eyes as the torrential water came barreling down the street.
I had a garage standing right there.
Where'd it go?
Downstream.
It appears the emergency alert system worked. Thousands of residents evacuated to higher ground.
I haven't heard of any injuries either. So.
The Sanford village manager says her community of just 800 is going to need help. She says she was grateful to hear the governor's state of emergency last evening and hopes that the help comes quickly.
I think we're going to need a lot of help cleaning this up. There's a lot of debris floating in the lake.
She tells me job one is to remove all of that debris that is now forced up against the Sanford Dam. That is the scene in Sanford this afternoon. Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
The Red Cross is also on scene to help a lot of the folks here. 6 high schools have been turned into centers where families can go right now. And we have so much more to cover in our hour and a half of news. At 6 o'clock, we have a defender's investigation into the dam, the Edenville Dam that gave way. What warning signs were there? We'll have all of that for you coming up at 6. For now, back to you guys in Detroit.
Just incredible footage coming out of Midland. All right. Jason, we'll check back in with you a little bit later. Thank you. Meanwhile, mid-Michigan isn't the only part of the state getting hit with flooding.
No, check this out. This is Sky 4 over the River Raisin down in Monroe County. You see homes along the river surrounded by so much water. Victor Williams there live on the ground with that part of the story. Victor, folks there are a bit used to this, but it's bad.
That's right. The image of the River Raisin here really speaks for itself. As you guys can take a look out there, you will see that the waves are higher than usual. But even with that, the people who live close to this body of water, they tell me that they've been spared, knowing that it could have been potentially way worse. Parts of Monroe could literally be seen underwater as the River Raisin overflowed in some places.
I usually don't see big trees like that floating down the river.
Several residential streets too covered to even drive over. Surprisingly, Jeffrey Harrington, the owner of Vince's Drive-In right on the river, isn't worried at all. His restaurant has been here for over 3 decades and it's only flooded twice.
We had 3 feet of water inside. Had to take everything outside and wash it down, sanitize it, and that's the worst part, cleaning up.
But what about the people living on the water? To Nancy Maloch and Rick Hillier, things look quite different in their own backyard.
Usually in the summertime you can walk over there. No problem. A huge stone walkway.
But it is very high right now. Very, very high.
I'd say probably about 6 feet higher than what it usually is.
Both claim this is the highest and roughest they've seen the water in their entire time living here.
Luckily, they believe they'll be fine because of how their home was built.
Because I sit up high. The rest, and there's a seawall right there. They sit down low. I sit up high. I'm on a hill.
But only time will tell.
I put some dirt bags around with some visqueen and some boards, but you can't stop her from coming in. You can't stop that Mother Nature.
And right now it's believed that the water has already come to a crest. Even just the time that we've been here, we've noticed that the level has gone down significantly. But once again, the people who are here, they're saying that they are mainly focused on the people over in Midland. In the meantime, we are reporting Victor Williams, Local 4.